virtually hosted the BRICS 2022 meeting, which was the event's 14th iteration. The abbreviation BRICS refers to the alliance between Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Additionally, these are the group's enduring members. Other nations besides these permanent members have expressed interest in joining this organization, and a select number of them are invited to the summit each year as guests or observers. The countries who participated as observers this year were Algeria, Argentina, Cambodia, Egypt, Ethiopia, Fiji, Indonesia, Iran, Kazakhstan, Senegal, Uzbekistan, Malaysia, and Thailand. Iran and Argentina, two of these nations, have applied to join BRICS. Once their formalities are completed, the group will grow from its current membership of 5 to 7 countries, with the possibility of becoming another G7 organization with distinct goals, objectives, and values. Now let's quickly comprehend the reasons that Argentina and Iran applied for participation in the BRICS, and by the way, they have not yet been granted membership. It is now happening. However, the group's top leaders have come close to a consensus. Anyhow, why did they apply? A few last-minute options are being investigated. The first thing you need to know is that Iran has the second largest gas reserves in the world. The second thing you need to know is that Iran's relationship with the West began to deteriorate immediately following the 1979 Iranian Revolution, when Ayatollah Khomeini's Shia Islamic ideology replaced Shah Muhammad Raza Pahlavi's secular monarchy. As you know, if something is secular, it usually has the support of the West. The Iranian Revolution of 1979 so harmed Iran's relations with the West, and as a result, the US Department of State placed Iran to its list of states that support terrorism and began imposing many sanctions on Iran for its development of nuclear technology, among other things. The United States and the European Union have done everything they can to rein the Iranian economy by imposing many sanctions because Iran's relations with the West are poor and its nuclear weapons development poses a threat to American interests. Iran is now included on the FTF's blacklist as a result. Simply consider it. Pakistan is on the good list. India has made every effort to have Pakistan placed on the bad list, but for some reason the West has never taken this issue seriously. Iran is included on the blacklist. However, everyone is aware that occasionally both China and the United States employ Pakistan. A nation won't be added to the blacklist by its masters if it can be utilized for XYZ purposes in return for money. They will include them on a grey list in order for them to not only be regulated but also occasionally used. Thus, that is the state of affairs in Pakistan. Iran, however, is an exception to this rule. Iran is like a bone in the US government's throat. Because of this, Iran is on the FTF's blacklist. And if any country is included, all exports and imports are prohibited. In the end, the purpose of any sanction is to cause an economic catastrophe, so that you can compel the nation's ruler and administration to comply. The Western nations have crippled Iran's economy, and Iran has repeatedly pleaded with the United States to lift these sanctions. However, the United States wants Iran to give up its nuclear weapons and allow outside inspection of its facilities, which Iran is not at all in favor of simply because they don't trust the United States. Iran has a strong belief that American interests will be brought under American control in this way. Iran refuses to accept American demands, but at the same time, the United States is exerting tremendous pressure on Iran through its use of sanctions. Iran's economy is contracting due to a number of factors. Democrats include Obama. Since Trump is a Republican, the United States deep state will always have a fixed policy towards Iran, which is to end that country's nuclear program, regardless of which political party is in power. Iran has the second greatest gas reserves and the fourth largest oil reserves in the world, which is the only reason they are able to manage their economy at all. Iran illegally sells a significant amount of oil. From Iran's standpoint, the term illegal is actually incorrect because the Islamic Republic of Iran must continue to operate in spite of severe sanctions in order to live. They cannot be let to deteriorate. Iran exports oil there by defying American sanctions. They sold their products to nations like Turkey, China, and Iran. Iran also sends oil to its neighbors including Syria, Iraq, and Pakistan. As you are well aware, Iran and Pakistan share a border in Balochistan. Smuggling of oil is a common occurrence in this region of the world. The sanctions imposed by the Western nations have effectively decimated the Iranian economy. Thus, this is the only way it is currently able to survive. The joining five major economies becomes even more significant for Iran because it will not only give the country a global stage from which to address regional and economic issues, but it will also enable it to play a significant role in the only other significant emerging market that can compete with the Western market. When you consider the entire BRICS alliance, China's GDP is by far the biggest, representing more than 70% of the 27.5 trillion in total economic power of the group. About 13% of the total comes from India, 7% each from Russia and Brazil, and the rest is made up of South Africa. Additionally, the BRICS grouping is responsible for around 26% of the world's GDP and more than 40% of the world's population. As you can see, it is unmistakably the next alternative to the combined Western market, and when Iran officially joins after all the necessary paperwork is completed, it will prove to be a significant country in this BRICS grouping to provide the much needed energy, because it has the second and fourth largest oil reserves in the world, as well as the ability to provide a land route to Central Asia and then Russia. Accepting Iran would be beneficial for the BRICS alliance in every way, similar to how the Iranian economy, which is in dire condition, requires an alternative emerging market. I am currently in Argentina studying Argentina's foreign policy reveals that it is not very clear because Argentina's position on a number of geopolitical issues is unclear. The country's foreign policy is particularly unpredictable. Argentina has one of Latin America's major economies and is regarded as the region's most stable democracy. Even so, Argentina has endured a political and financial crisis for the past 10 years. Argentina is also a significant trading partner of the United States, European Union, and China. The leading trading partner of Latin America is still in the United States. In actuality, over the past 20 years, China's influence in Latin America has grown. With numerous Latin American nations, China has grown tight commercial and security relations. It goes without saying that if a Latin American nation has alliances with both the United States and China, things will not go smoothly. If you look at Argentina's politics, Alberto Hernandez is the president and he leads a coalition government known as Everyone's Front. It is referred to as Frente de Todos in Latin. Argentina currently has a leftist government, if we may generalize. Thus, it is only logical that American politics have some influence there. Additionally, it is a known truth that the United States has interfered in the internal affairs of Latin American nations hundreds of times. However, it has been noticed lately that Argentina has been looking eastward towards China in order to meet its economic and developmental needs. In actuality, China invited the president of Argentina to the BRICS summit. Economically, we are aware of what is happening in Argentina, but politically, things are more complicated. Argentina's economy is in poor shape. The peso has fallen to an all-time low versus the dollar. The country's inflation rate is out of control. Truck drivers are protesting the lack of diesel fuel. And most recently, Argentina's economy minister resigned. Argentina's economy is therefore in terrible shape. Additionally, their foreign policy is erratic. The situation is unclear since Argentina must strike a balance between its connections with China and the US. And even the Eastern market is aware that US intervention in Latin American nations is not entirely absent. Because America cannot assist Argentina economically and because the American economy is struggling, Argentina is more confident when the Western and Eastern markets are compared side by side. For this reason, Argentina has also expressed a strong interest in joining the BRICS alliance. So guys, this was for today. Give us your thoughts on this in the comment section. And if you appreciate our content, please hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. Share this video with your family and friends. We will meet soon in a new video. Thank you. Jai Hind.